grab your coat and get your hat. Leave your worry on the doorstep. Just direct your feet to the sunny side of the street. Can't you hear a pitter-pat? And that happy tune is your step. Life can be so sweet on the sunny, sunny, sunny side of the street. Hi, welcome to another On the Sunny Side of the Street. I'm your host, Tod Gross, a clinical psychologist and director of Adams Street Associates in Newton. And our show really likes to look at the positive side of reality, some of the good news, the stories you don't usually hear on the regular news, which are usually very depressing. And we've interviewed many different people who have really helped other people overcome odds or provided enjoyment for many people. And one of the kinds of ways of really helping provide enjoyment is through entertainment. And also sometimes as the entertainment goes on, there's also education that is going on at the same time. So we are today going to be interviewing a couple people who are representing the Puppet Showplace in Brookline. And I'm sure many of you Newton viewers have brought your children often to see some of the wonderful shows they've put on. But now we're going to hear a little bit about those shows and their meaning. And in particular today, we're glad to say that the Puppet Showplace is celebrating its 35th anniversary. So here with me in the studio to help us celebrate that anniversary and talk about the Puppet Showplace, we have Kris Higgins, who's the executive director. How you doing, Kris?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you for coming. And we have Myhrum, who is the artistic director.
Yeah, hi, Tod.
Hi, thank you for coming. Maybe to get us started, for our listeners, maybe Kris, as the director, can you say a little bit about the history of how this Puppet Showplace that a lot of us have really seen and brought enjoyment to our children, how it started?
Yeah, thanks. The Puppet Showplace was founded in June of 1974 by a woman named Mary Churchill. Mary was a teacher in the public school setting, and she was using puppets as a way to help students who were having a hard time reading.
Oh, really?
To really get them engaged in the reading process. And she really fell in love with puppetry and performing and creating puppets, but found that there wasn't any place in the Boston area to present her shows for the public. Huh. So she found this little storefront space in Brookline Village, conveniently right across from the T. That was very important
Yes,
to
it's a
her.
great location.
Yeah, she wanted to make sure that all kids could get to the Puppet Showplace Theatre. So she found this little storefront space. There was no lobby, there was no box office, it was just the theater itself. You walked in and everything was right in front of you. And she thought that the theater would just be this place for her. And like that, all of these other puppeteers showed up and wanted to perform as well.
Wow. And
so the theater grew, and in 1980 we moved into the space that's right next door, right in the same building.
Yes.
So we're still right there. The theater is now in its 35th year. We present over 350 shows every year, 6 shows a week, to over 20,000 visitors, which actually makes us the 12th largest performing arts organization in the Boston area, according to the Boston Business Journal.
That's wonderful to hear the history. You know, we've certainly seen the place, but this is the first time I've really got a sense of where it all started and how it started, even in working with children. That's wonderful. Can you each say a little bit about how you got to your jobs, you know, doing this work, and a little bit of what your job involves for the people that are watching? Maybe I'll start with you, Roxy. Yeah.
Sure. So being the artistic director of a theater is a little different for everyone depending on the kind of theater and also where their interests are.
Yeah.
So I've only recently come to Puppet Showplace Theatre. There have been several really wonderful artistic directors before, all of whom had very different backgrounds. For me, I come at it from a theater performance and production background, and I was fortunate to have been introduced to puppetry as a mode of theatrical performance when I was a teenager. And I started performing at the National Puppetry Conference, helping out on emerging artist projects there. And I had the good fortune of meeting all these people from the national and even international puppetry community.
Wow.
So it's for me as a theater artist, it's always been part of my background. And when I saw that Puppet Showplace Theatre was looking for an artistic director, I thought, oh well, I've had had this background in producing and directing, and I've wanted to find a place that has a strong institutional history where there's room for a lot of growth and sustaining the strong mission. So Puppet Showplace, my job is to bring in the performers who perform there. We're a producing sort of a contracting theater with our puppeteers, and many of the puppeteers come from the New England area, but also from all over the country. And most of the shows are for children, but we also do adult programming, and we also have educational development that goes on at the theater through what we call the incubator, which meets every Tuesday, and that's overseen by our artist in residence, Brad Schur. So I have sort of oversight of all of these, the core artistic activities that happen at Puppet Showplace Theatre.
And you have like a pool or a place that you know to get different puppeteers from. You have ways of you know, contacts and connections.
Well, the puppetry community, for those who don't know, is a community. These are people who many of whom started doing their own puppet work professionally even when they were teenagers, or they encountered it for the first time when they were in elementary school. So for some of them, they've been performing for you know, decades. And
it's in their blood.
Exactly. And there's Puppeteers of America, which is the national level guild, and then there are puppetry associations in different regions all over. And in Boston, we have BAGOP, the Boston Area Guild of Puppeteers, who also meet at Puppet Showplace Theatre every other month or so. So through that, through other like internet boards and other things, the puppetry community is very close-knit, and people really support each other in their art.
Gotcha. It's fascinating to hear your path. How about for you, Kris? How did you end up being executive director, and maybe a little bit for people what you have to do in that role?
Yeah, well, I also I had a bit of theater experience as well. I was on the board of a nonprofit community theater, but my background with nonprofit management was really what brought me to the theater. I managed an AmeriCorps program prior to coming to the Puppet Showplace that specifically worked to improve the quality of child care for young children birth to age 5. So it was exciting to me to find this great organization that was both arts-based and provided services to children. And with the AmeriCorps program, I was very involved with grant writing and fundraising as well, which is a primary focus of my position. You know, Roxy handles all of the arts-based aspect, and I handle the business side of things, the administration, and finding the money and spending the money. Those are really the two sides of my job.
And one thing that Kris told me when I came first into the position is he made the point, you know, the artistic director is the person who really looks out for the mission of the theater. And as he mentioned, the theater is a not-for-profit. And having an institution with an artistic mission requires, you know, this combined effort that your ultimate goal is to produce great art and connect an audience with that art. So you always have an awareness of the marketing side of that, I guess, that you want things that bring in an audience. You want things that make people say, I want to go see that, I want to buy a ticket to see that, to help sustain the theater. But you also want to make sure that you are producing things that are good just because they're good and suit the mission of the theater and represent the best of puppetry.
What you're saying, Roxy, is kind of answering most of this question anyway, but I was wondering what you'd both say about the overall philosophy, the guiding philosophy of this program anyway. I mean, it is so delightful when you go see these shows, and to me, that usually comes from people having a pretty good sense of mission, like you were talking about. But anything you want to add to what you said, either of you, about the kind of mission philosophy of this place?
Well, as a theater, we view puppetry from an artistic standpoint, primarily. You know, puppetry can be used as an artistic expression for educational purposes, for therapy purposes, but we primarily view puppetry or present puppetry from an artistic standpoint. We want to make sure that we're presenting the highest quality puppetry possible, which is sometimes a challenge with a tiny little stage. There's some fantastic shows that are really big, but we just can't fit them in our space.